Welcome, and thank you for tuning into the human training your dog is begging you for. If you are needing help understanding your dog and their behaviors, you have come to the right place. We're Charles and Laura Countryman, co-founders of Canine Culture Dog Training here in Dallas, Texas area. And as always, we have senior lead trainer, Julie. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
Wyatt is not here today. He's stuck in Dallas traffic because it's raining and everyone forgets in Dallas how to drive in the rain. But if you are needing help understanding your dog's behavior, perhaps you're just wanting to learn more about creating behaviors you'd like to see more, and hopefully learn how to replace some of those behaviors with things you'd like to see, behaviors you'd like to see less, and replace them with behaviors you'd like to see more, then that's our goal with our podcast as always. And on this episode today, we're actually going to be talking about the difference between service dogs, therapy dogs, and emotional support dogs, or also referred to as ESAs. A lot of controversy, so I'm quite certain that something we say today will probably ruffle a feather with somebody listening, because when you start talking about service dogs and emotional support animals, particularly, someone's going to become offended. So try not to be, but at the end of the day, if you got offended, it's because you decided to be. Because there is no intent to offend anybody. We're just going to tell you our take on it, and it is just what it is. It's controversial, I think, ladies, because it's tends to be so abused. The service dog and the ESA, anyway, the emotional support animals. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So you're saying that the I'm sorry, I got distracted.
Yeah, sorry.
With what Wyatt
we're winging it for a moment. Wyatt just walked in, and we'll just keep going. But
okay, so you're saying like there's a big difference between ESA and service dogs, and therapy dogs.
And I don't think people realize the distinction, that there is a real distinction between them and what they're allowed to do with an ESA and not allowed versus a service dog. And then therapy dogs is an easy one. We'll kind of leave that one for the last.
I would say the main distinction is that a service dog provides tasks for someone with a disability.
A very specific
whether
task.
It's a physical disability, a mental disability, or even a psychiatric like disability.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, those dogs are trained to provide some sort of help for the person to be able to live a better life.
And it's a very specific task.
Yes.
So as a rule of thumb, if you have a service dog and you're going through, let's say, airport security, the airport security is not allowed by law because of HIPAA to ask what is wrong with you that would require you to have a service animal. But they are permitted by law to say, what service does your dog perform for you? And if you can't answer that, you do not have a service dog, because your dog is not performing a specific task for you. Now, they're just a dog that you threw a vest on so you can fly with them, because they're really not performing a very specific task. And think of it in a true service dog, your doctor has prescribed that. You need X. That is almost, whether it's
and it's gone through rigorous training.
That's whether it's a medical doctor or a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
But a doctor has prescribed, hey, yes, I agree. I think this dog would provide X service for you. Agreed?
Go more in depth into that, because I don't think
Yeah, because the doctor might prescribe that a dog might be good for whatever that is. Then you need to find a dog and train that dog and see if the actual passes to do that thing.
That's where it gets murky right there.
They have in America, there's no testing anywhere.
The reason there's so much fraud is what you just said. Yeah. You can slap a vest on your dog, and people do it every day and call their dog a service dog, but there is no formal required training a service dog has to go through. A therapy dog, there actually is, and that dog has the least rights of the three. Yeah. But a service dog or an emotional support dog, there is no regulation that it has to do X, Y, and Z in order to be air quote, certified as a service dog.
But I think it would depend on where. Before I worked here, I was working at a service dog company, and they had a really long program, to get to the end point.
But it's not required by law.
It's not required by law. But I think that's where it's up to the individual to research, to do correct research to see what it is that they're going to get at the end. Because sometimes the service dogs, they can make it to the second year, and they will get washed out once they're paired to somebody.
Right.
So it's really, there's just so much into it. It's to me, this topic is such a passionate topic to talk about, because I have so many friends who have service dogs who genuinely need them. And then I know on the other hand, people who are trying to bend the system.
Because they just want to hang out with their dog.
Correct.
And I get it. I want to take my dogs everywhere.
Right.
But they're not legally allowed to go everywhere. That's just life.
The hard part, though, is in the HIPAA laws, it says you can train your own dog.
Yeah.
And
that's
the diversity of service-related tasks, like it might not be.
I'm sure that will change, though.
It's got to. It's already, you've seen over the last probably 18-ish months. If you want to fly with a service or an emotional support dog, that we now have to. If we have trained a dog, we have to actually fill out one form. That's new. Thank God, because and the reason that I am not a the government needs to regulate everything. I am way not that person, but this is an area where somebody needs to step in and say, these are at least 8 things that a dog needs to be able to do, or you can't put a vest on that
I
dog.
would think the easiest solution ever, which blows my mind, hasn't happened because there's clearly a need in the market for it, is why does not an airline say, hey, you can buy this special sheet and it's for a dog and it doesn't need to be a service dog?
I think they do though now.
They have to pass certain tests.
I think that dogs get service dog IDs.
No, I'm saying, like, I don't need a service dog, but I am never going to put my dogs underneath an airplane because that's die.
Right.
I want to fly with my dog sometimes. There needs to be some sort of system or something. Yeah, have some tests so your dog will be civil.
Right.
I'm totally fine with that. And most people are willing to do that. They just don't need a service dog. Right. They don't want to put their dogs underneath a plane where it's going to die.
Well,
no, that I agree completely.
And here's a good point. Like, when you're going to fly with a dog, you need to be, it goes back to advocating for your dog. You need to train your dog how to fly.
Yeah.
Right.
Because there's a change in pressure. They can't chew gum, so they can't alleviate that ear pressure. Like it's almost like they don't chew gum either. So that's why they cry a lot on planes. You need to know how they need to get into the plane and where they need to be in the plane, because they're not allowed to obstruct the pathway in your chairs. So that's where I kind of have a beef with a lot of people that bend the rules so much with service dogs and emotional support animals. Is the owner has no clue how to have their dog on a plane. Then clearly the dog doesn't. And now it makes it so much harder for all the people that genuinely have to have that dog for their work. And now they get the stink eye when they're going through security, because is your dog really a service dog?
Right.
People are bringing peacocks on and
I know
all kinds of crazy animals. It's like, really, come on.
But I think what's so sad is that if you were to ask all the people who have service dogs, they would tell you that if they could live their life without one, they would.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's, we work with dogs, as everybody knows. I've taken George a lot with work, and then sometimes I'll take him on some errands around town. There is sometimes I'm like, no, you can't go with me, buddy, because it's just a pain in the butt. Legally, he could go everywhere I'm going that day, but it's just going to be a pain. But if he has a service dog, I have to have him with me because I need him. It's still a pain in the butt. Yeah. Because I got to make sure it's not too hot on his paws. I got to make sure there's a place for him to go potty. It actually is. You nailed it. People that have a service dog would probably wish they didn't.
Because it's like carrying around a 5-year-old.
Yeah,
to be a very well-behaved 5-year-old, it's still a child.
Right.
Well, and they also
around, and it's a pain in the butt.
They have a reason for that service dog in there. They would have not to have that reason.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
They're like,
that's where I was.
They would like to be able to stand
They wish they didn't need a service dog, for sure. And we don't particularly, as a rule of thumb, we do not train that. there are one or two things that we would train a dog for in a service capacity. And this is a decision that we kind of all made as a leadership team here, because we didn't want to get roped into training fake service dogs. Because like Julie said, a real service dog that's trained to perform a specific task, it's a 1 to 2 or plus year process. Those dogs are $10,000, $20,000 or more.
And they might fail.
And they could still wash out.
That's the thing.
And it still doesn't work.
A good example of a service dog that we might train, stability. You need the dog to have a harness on so you can stabilize yourself if you're getting up or sitting down. That's pretty darn easy as long as you have the core obedience there. But when it comes to
the right temperament
diabetes and stuff like that, I don't know how to train that. I'm not going to train that.
I think some people
that's important.
Some people think their dog is awesome. Most dogs do not have the temperament to be a service dog.
Well,
2 of our dogs are therapy dogs, and that takes a lot to get to be a therapy dog. So I think it's interesting. Service dogs, you don't have to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just sad that they should be more than a therapy dog.
Way more.
Yeah.
Way more.
I think it should be required to be a therapy dog before you can even talk about being a service dog.
And we'll get into therapy dog at the end. You just I lost my train of thought where you were going with that, where I was about to head with that when you said, temperament. Here's a big issue that I believe not most, but a lot of people that I see have with ESA, emotional support animals, and service dogs. They get a dog and they want to make that dog a service dog. No, you know what you need. Now you look for the dog that has the temperament to be able to perform that for you. Then you train the dog. You don't have a pet and try to turn the pet into a service dog. Could it work? Once in a while, but usually no. That dog wasn't wired to do the job you're asking them to do.
And it seems like 90% of the people that want to do that pick reactive dogs.
Yeah, you cannot have a dog reactive or a human reactive dog
saying exactly.
to be a service dog. That is total BS. And we've had a few people come
I've heard people literally say, well, I want my dog to become a service dog so I can take it everywhere.
Right.
Exactly. And I'm just like, okay, but that's not how that works.
That's not how that works. And that's not the reason for the law.
Right.
Yeah.
And there is a law that if you have a service dog, you can bring them public access.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they can't have public access if they will bite somebody or could potentially bite somebody or bite another dog. And you might think, well, who cares? Well, maybe there's somebody in there with a real service dog and now your dog attacked their dog. Well, that really matters.
Or it's just freaking them out and that dog's not paying attention to their human.
Right.
Yeah.
So they could
the dog has to be able to, what you just said, pay attention to their human. They're at work. When they're with their human in the public, the dog is at work. And it's emotionally exhausting for your dog to be a good, qualified, working service dog.
I mean, that's why you're not allowed to pet service dogs. It's not because they're jerks and the dog won't like it. No, that dog needs to stare at that human
yes,
to
he's
see
working.
if they're about to have like a panic attack or a seizure or whatever it is.
I think at the end of the day, it's just so disrespectful. That's really what it comes down to for me, is when someone comes in and wants to tell me they want to make their dog a service dog, it's very difficult.
So they can fly.
Because, because 9 times out of 10, that's what they want. They want to be able to fly, or they want to be able to just have their dogs go into Walmart with them or whatever. And at that point, it's like, I just don't understand. Then maybe there needs to be something else that needs to be addressed here. If you need your dog to be with you everywhere, but you don't actually need your dog to be with you everywhere.
Right. And I get it. You don't want to put your dog in the cargo area. I drove literally from Florida to California with George and back because I won't put him in a cargo area. It's too hot and too cold in the summer. It's blistering hot on the tarmac at the airport, and then you get in the air and it's ridiculously cold. So they go from one extreme to the other. I would never put one of my dogs in a cargo hold on a plane. But if we're going to go somewhere with our dog, we're driving them.
When my family and I moved here in 99, we did that. We had to put our 2 dogs from France to here.
Oh, yeah.
And after that, we were like, we're never going to do that
But you don't have
again.
any choice going overseas.
Yeah, of course. But it was terrible. Like our younger dog was just like frantic trying to get out of the kennel. The older dog, we didn't even know she was alive because she was she was literally just laying there, and I was like, oh my gosh, like it was
right.
But she was
It's
okay.
very stressful.
But I definitely was like, I'm never doing that again.
So service dog, has to perform a very specific task. And if you need a service dog, you need to call trainers. And how do they find one?
How?
Yeah. What would you recommend if someone needs a service dog to be?
I think the first step would be, what is it that you're trying to get your dog to do for you?
Perfect.
And then once you can figure that out, then you can try looking at companies either within your states or within close to your state. But that
you
would
might
be,
go 5 states away though, and
absolutely.
You need to be willing
but
to
like,
do that.
For example, there's a very well-known service dog company for blind people in California.
Yeah.
So like that would be where I would go.
That's where I'd
you
go
know,
for a,
yes, that would be where I would go.
Yep, and those are like 2+ year process. For those
yes.
dogs.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
And the washout rate is unbelievable. I watched we watched a documentary on it. I was like, whoa.
Was it the one on Netflix?
I think
No?
so. It was a couple.
Yeah, it was
a miniseries or something.
It was really interesting to watch all of that.
It was fascinating. I was like, oh, so many dogs washed out, and they were great dogs, but they just quite weren't good enough to be a seeing.
Well, the one thing that I was like super fascinated about is how they were saying that if like over time they teach the dog to purposefully disobey.
Yes.
So interesting.
You got to think the dog to purposely disobey.
Right.
Wow. How do
I know.
get a
That's
dog
crazy.
to
Not walking
disobey.
Yes.
With intent.
Because
the dog has to problem solve and say,
correct.
No, I'm going to override you right now. That was fascinating. So there's certain aspects like if you're diabetic or like you said, Julie, seeing eye dog. Those ones are kind of easy. I think I would just recommend Googling seeing eye dog trainer. Diabetic service dog trainer. But after that, whatever it is, the task that you need to, that's what I would be Googling. Don't look for a dog trainer. Obedience dog trainers are obedience dog trainers.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are so many aspects that go into making that dog 100% as virtually as possible anyway. As close to 100% as possible. And we're obedience dog trainers. That's not our jam. That's not our skill set. You're looking for a skill set that is on point with that, and it's going to cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Now you'll probably say, God, I can't afford that. GoFundMe, some legitimate service dog trainers also have,
payment plan or no?
There's grants.
Grants. That's some kind of financial assistance.
Most of them are nonprofits.
But Google the specific task and then include service dog. You're not looking for an obedience dog trainer.
No.
Now, if your dog's a hot mess, well, he's probably a hot mess and shouldn't be a service dog. You should be talking to the trainer first. Yeah. The one time I think we trained 2 dogs for stability. And the first one we did, I said no. And she said, well, I just need you to tell me the kind of dog to get. And that's the dog I'm going to get. And 6 months later, she came back with an adult lab at X centimeters tall. It was, she literally got it for exactly that reason. I was like, wow, this lady is really on point. She needs it to just be able to stand for more than a moment or two, because sometimes she'd lose her balance. And she went and got a dog with the right temperament, the right size, so she'd actually be able to use him. A pug wouldn't work in that scenario.
No.
So I felt good about that one, and we did something similar. I can't think of another. We're pretty picky about that. As a rule of thumb, we will not do service dog training. It's not our jam. But don't just look for an obedience dog trainer. So now, emotional support. This is probably the one that gets abused more than any of them.
Yes.
I think it used to get abused a lot more than it does now, because you used to be able to fly with ESAs and you can no longer fly with an ESA.
I personally don't think that ESAs are a real thing.
I would agree. And this is where we're going to ruffle some feathers.
I'm just going to put it, I'll be the bad guy in this conversation.
We're going to, I know we just pissed somebody off, but oh well. An emotional support, that's what all dogs give us.
Yes, literally.
That's why humans want dogs.
Yes.
Is it lowers your blood pressure by petting a dog. They are emotional support.
The thing is, people need to figure out like what they feel the difference is between, or what the similarities are between an ESA and a psychiatric service dog. And if you can see those two very distinct differences, then you'll know that ESAs are not a real thing.
Right. Because if you really need one for emotional support, then you've most likely been prescribed that by a doctor. Because it's to that level.
Because they don't even look at a psychiatrist or a therapist can just write.
I know.
Whomever to whomever.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
And the ESA is the sticky one, and there were so many abuses in that. That's why to fly with a dog, you have to have a form by a dog trainer, and hopefully it's a reputable trainer. I've had numerous people come in and ask us to fill out a form. And the answer is no.
Yeah.
It gets to the point where sometimes it's a fraud, and I'm not going to participate in the fraud because it makes it so much harder on the people that have a genuine service dog and need to access the public with it.
Yeah.
They don't want to be getting a stink eye from people thinking, because you don't know. Most people, they look physically healthy and mentally healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so of course you're going to look at them and go, do you really need a dog? Well, I don't know what's going on inside your body.
Mm-hmm.
I want to assume, yes, you need that dog that's with you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a fair expectation that we should all have with those people. And there's just been an inundation over the last couple of years with fake dogs that are service dogs and emotional support dogs, that it makes it really hard and unfair for the people that genuinely need that.
I just wish there was a middle ground.
Yeah. Like what?
A dog that's passed 6-8 different tests, been a therapy dog, so now we can do airplanes and stuff like that. But I don't have a service dog.
Yeah, but could we
it.
fly?
Yeah,
with it?
I think.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, you also have to think there are people out there who are allergic to dogs.
That is true.
So it's
That's
kind
true.
of like
Yeah.
shitty for those people. I'm so
'Cause they're-
sorry.
Yeah,
It's
well,
kind of
they're
bad
stuck,
for
they're
those
stuck
people.
in a tube, and they're breathing, dog dander, and like you said, they're allergic to dogs. I mean, you have
Right.
to suck it up if it's a service dog on there or a military, a police working dog.
Right.
But so it's a catch-22 both ways.
I just wish there was a middle. I feel like 80% of the people that lie about that, if there was a legitimate way to do it that wasn't just impossible,
Mm-hmm.
They'd do it.
do the legitimate
Right.
way.
Right.
They don't want to lie.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've known quite a few clients that they're like, I never do service dog anything because I don't have one, but I do it to get on planes because I just am not willing to put my dog underneath an airplane.
Yeah. But
And
once again, that's not the point of service dogs.
Yeah.
oh, I know.
Yeah.
They wish they could. Didn't
But,
have to
there
use
could
the
be,
system.
I don't
There's
know.
just no other
If the
way.
industry ever saw that the need was great enough,
But I mean,
I'm sure they'd have a dog flight acceptable flight. Now they just need a process for it. But
I
wish they did.
think
the
then
demand must not be high enough.
another topic should be addressed is why do we feel the need to bring our dogs everywhere we go?
Yeah.
Why are we in this
true.
day and age now where we want to travel to China with our dog and go to wherever,
saying if you live in California and you have family in New York, that's a long drive, and you want to take
Yeah,
your
but
dog.
to Julie's point, if it's just a week vacation,
Leave your dog somewhere at home.
board your dog
Oh, I
or
know.
a family member. I mean, why do we have to take our dog everywhere? I mean, 30 years ago, no one would even think it.
Right.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it just wasn't something you did.
20 years ago.
Yeah, really,
Mhm.
not that long ago.
Yeah.
But if there was like a midnight flight that was dog friendly,
It might be
people
cool.
would do that. I would
yeah.
Oh,
pay
yeah.
triple prices to do that.
Yep.
I would not care.
And that's really on the airlines.
Buddy.
If the market was
Yeah.
there, if the market was there, I'm sure the airlines would try to fill the market. Maybe they've just never looked at it.
personally.
The last one is therapy dogs. So this one has always been a conundrum to me because there actually tends to be more of a process to become a
Yes.
certified therapy dog. George is a certified therapy dog, and we had to take him through a
Abby.
course. And the reason I think that there's a process is because you're taking a therapy dog is for somebody else. It's not
Right.
for you. So you would take him like we used to take George pre-COVID to retirement communities, to the memory loss centers, and let people just love on him.
Foster care. Went to a lot of
You can
things.
go to, we used to take him to foster care. He would sit with people that would testify, children that would testify,
In court.
and they could pet him while they're testifying. So a therapy dog is for someone else. It's not for you. Because it's for someone else, and the access is at like children's hospitals or grown-up hospitals, places like that. They require at least a $1 million insurance policy, typically $2 million. So to get that, they have to be certified, or the insurance company wouldn't issue the policy. So the reason a therapy dog, I believe, has some requirements in it is because the insurance company won't issue no policy unless there's some proof the dog can perform consistently at a certain age. They have to be a minimum of a year old. So it's the insurance company that's the driver behind that, not the government. I just find that fascinating. But that's the big distinction between a therapy dog and others. They really don't have a lot of rights access-wise. If they're about to go to work and they're with you, yes, you can take them into stores and blah, blah, blah. But you can't just take them out and about. Do people? Probably. But you're not supposed to. Any other feedback on therapy dogs?
None that's productive.
None that's productive?
I just want Buddy to be a therapy dog.
Buddy would be a good therapy dog because he's got the demeanor. A therapy dog has to be at least a year old, and they can't be BS crazy with too much energy. And the reason is because they could be around, depending on how you utilize them, they could be around somebody that has an IV, and if they jump on them, they could rip the IV out of their arm. Or in retirement communities, their skin is fragiler. Fragiler, that's a new word. We don't want them, ripping someone's flesh open because their nails went down their leg.
They also can't eat anything off the ground.
They cannot eat anything off the ground because there could be
Buddy
pills
can't be a therapy dog.
on the ground. And now they're eating some Vicodin, and that's not bad. That's not good for dogs. They cannot eat anything
have to be
off the ground.
Pretty dang good. They have to be around other dogs.
Now, therapy dog is allowed to be dog reactive.
Yeah, they can because they don't have to
they
work with
just can't work with another dog as a team.
Yep.
I found that one weird. But they are allowed to be dog reactive, but they have to be under control, right?
Yeah.
If they are dog reactive, then you can't go with another teammate to go do something together because, you're going to have a dog fight.
Right.
They have to work as what's called a solo team, just their handler and the dog. And therapy dog, one of the great, there's a couple, you could just, if you're wanting to do things with your dog in a therapy dog capacity, maybe you want to go to libraries and let children read to them.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Or take them to hospitals and let kids pet on them.
I can see kids reading to Buddy.
Or when they had the Pulse nightclub blow up. Shooting. It didn't blow up. Shooting
in Orlando.
We lived there, and then we took our dogs to a lot of things.
Yeah,
it was interesting.
So that was a very emotional.
Yeah.
Crazy thing. So there's a lot of neat things that you can do with therapy dogs. What's the Go team in Colorado is a fantastic trainer of therapy dogs. I know there's a couple others. I just can't think of them off the top of my head. But you could Google therapy dog training and certification, and you'll come up with 3 to 5 great ones in the U.S. The Go team actually travels to U.S. To train, so that way you don't have to travel as far.
And if you think your dog can be a service dog, go through therapy dog training.
Yes, because that'll flush out whether the dog you have that you're trying to make into a service dog, that will literally flush out, is my dog really at that caliber or not? Because to go to a therapy dog, you have to, like the Go team requires it. I'm sure most reputable therapy dog training organizations, and they're all nonprofits that I know of, they require a trainer to recommend your dog. So as a rule of thumb, your dog typically at least needs the CGC certification, Canine Good Citizen. And then through therapy dog training, it's typically 2 to 7 days, just depends on what company you go with. With you, it's hands-on with you because you're getting certified as the handler as well. You'll get certified for the CGU for the community and urban environments as well. And if you have a service dog or an ESA dog, they should have all 3 of those certifications too. If they can't pass the urban and the community canine certification process, they have no business being a service dog or an emotional support dog, because that's what you're certifying, that they can function in an urban environment. That's about all I can think of on the service dogs, emotional support dogs, therapy dogs. So,
one thing to know though, all the things online, pay this money, you get a certificate, it's all
all
Thank
not
you for
real.
It is not
That's
real.
a bunch of BS. That makes me so angry. You'll answer like 4 or 5 questions online, and then they mail you some stupid, fraudulent certificate saying your dog's a service dog. That crap's just a fraud. And
that's how they make money.
That's just how they make some money. They sell you a certificate.
They're like, here, a service dog.
There's an issue with the service dog and emotional support dog
Well, the
area.
problem is some places will not believe you without the fraudulent little thing off the internet.
I know,
And
that's
you're like,
what's
no, by
sad.
law, I can train them by myself with nothing. No, we need paper trail.
That's really why.
Your
No,
face.
That's why the government really does need to establish a standard.
Yes.
They really do need to. It's
Other
ridiculous.
countries seem to be able to do
Yeah,
this.
other countries should. I don't know why it has not been done.
America.
We're complicated.
Yeah, if you want to bring,
Freedom.
if we want to bring George into a hospital or a retirement community, we have to show our therapy badge with our picture, George's therapy badge with his picture, and our insurance card.
Yep.
You know, for the $2 million policy that covers if you bit somebody or ripped an IV out of someone's arm or some crazy thing. But service dogs don't need that. ESAs don't need that.
I don't even think they need the shot records.
Oh yeah, and we have to carry shot records
Yeah,
too.
we
That's
do.
right,
Well,
'cause
like
they're in
service
his
dogs
vest.
do they?
Yeah, it's like the wild, wild west out there for service dogs and emotional support dogs.
Problem is HIPAA laws are real touchy and
It's whatever.
it's a hard gray area.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully, if you have ever wanted to know more about service dogs and therapy dogs and emotional support animals, our banter this morning helped. Sorry if there was a little curse word in there once in a while. But
Sorry.
this one gets us a little worked up. We have some lively debates over this. And then next week, we'll be breaking down the dog's brain and how chemicals impact your dog's behavior and how you can use them in your favor instead of always getting them used against you by your dog. If our discussion today connected with you, I invite you to reach out to us on our website, k-9culture.com, and click on Contact Us and share what your training goals are. Or if you have a question, feel free to shoot us a question and we'll do our best to answer it. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, K9 Culture Dog Training DFW, or Facebook, K9 Culture Dog Training DFW, for more dog training info. And if you are needing help with your dog, we would love to help you. Contact us through our website or give us a call and we'll discuss any issues that you're having and how we can be part of you and your pup's training journey. So again, next week, breaking down the dog brain, dopamine, endorphins, oxytocin, how they impact your dog's behavior and how can you use them in your favor. From all of us here at K9 Culture,
Go have fun with your dog.
Oh, we messed that one up.
Jump the gun.